Well, Professor Mark Button is Director and Founder of the Centre for Counter-Fraud Studies at the University of Portsmouth and joins us now. Good morning to you, Professor Button. Thanks for coming on the programme. I understand that there's two different types of crime here. There's a cyber-dependent crime and a cyber-enabled crime. What are those two things?
Well, cyber-dependent is where the crime occurs purely through the technical means, so it's like hacking. Whereas cyber-enabled is anything which uses a computer to commit a crime. So, for instance, cyber-enabled could be something as simple as someone putting something onto a website which is false. Cyber-enabled is the much bigger problem. People often get worried about the hacking, and obviously we do need to be worried about the hacking, but obviously the number of people that can engage in those kinds of skills are very, very small, whereas almost anybody can engage in a cyber-enabled type
So
crime.
that would be, for example, putting something up on maybe a social media site about somebody. Would we be talking about things like, we've heard the terms revenge porn before, etc., those kind of things?
Yes, those would all come into that category.
So that's a much bigger crime than people trying to steal money from your bank account?
Because you can still use cyber-enabled to try and steal money from people's bank accounts. The emails that we get that you just illustrated in your report, where you get an email from supposedly your bank saying that there's been a security alert, fill in those details, those are cyber-enabled. I mean, it doesn't take a great deal of skills to do that kind of attack, whereas obviously try to hack into someone's computer, that's a very, very skilled piece of work to do.
We've heard about it, and people in the office actually here have had correspondence from HMRC. We've printed off these emails and looked at them, and they're so real looking. They've got the logo and everything. How good do you think is the government at tackling this kind of thing? Because presumably HMRC must be very concerned that people would end up clicking on the link or whatever if they get this email.
Yeah, I think the government have been trying to do much more in recent years. I mean, you mentioned action fraud, that's been established. That's offers a huge amount of advice. It's a single point for all these crimes to be reported. All those reports then go into the National Fraud Intelligence Bureau, and there's a great deal of analysis that goes on there, which can then be used to hand out to the police for them to investigate and catch some of these criminals. So there is a lot going on. But what I think more needs to be done is there needs to be more police officers dedicated to this.
And there is a unit being set up, combined between Kent Police and Essex Police, actually. So that unit, we understand, will have about 20 police officers dedicated to it. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about?
Yes, that's great. But I still think, when you look at the scale of the problem, the crime survey statistics last week show that for 11 million plus crimes, over 5 million were either frauds or sort of computer-related crimes. So it's a huge, huge problem. And you look at the number of police in Kent and Essex that are kind of focused upon, if you like, the traditional crimes. These initiatives are great, and I really welcome them. But I think such is the change in nature of crime and the scale of it, we need even more of that.
Okay, Mark, we've had a text in from a listener. It says, I blame the service providers and the people who provide mobile and email accounts. This Aid, his name, he said, they sold my brand new mobile number within a week of me getting it. A lot of my friends hadn't even got it by then. And he says, council selling electoral rolls, all the information that's out there, is it for sale?
Yeah, well, there's a huge amount of information you can get just freely if you're reasonably skilled on the web, and that's obviously can be used to perpetrate identity fraud. So it's one of the risks of the modern society we live in. There are many, many benefits of all this information for all the things we want to do, but obviously with that comes new risks. And I think some of the service providers and telephone companies, maybe they could do more to tackle fraud, and that's probably where the government and bodies like Action Fraud and the police can work with them to try and close those gaps.
And are we being careful enough, Mark? I mean, are we being protective enough of what we do online?
Well, I think clearly there are a minority of people that are not being careful enough, and I think we can all do more. I think we can all Try to keep up to date with the latest scams by sort of being aware, looking at websites like Action Fraud to see what the latest challenges and problems are. And just following some sort of basic advice. Don't rush into decisions, when you get an email with an offer or something asking for information. Be careful if someone contacts you and says they're from the police or your bank, because it's very impersonate over the internet. So those types of things I think we can be much more attuned to.
Okay. Thank you for joining us this morning. Professor Mark Button, a cybercrime expert from Portsmouth University.